Well, you thought you knew how entertainment and celebrity PR really works? Well, you're about to hear what you didn't know, completely unfiltered from Jane Owen. She's the CEO of Jane Owen PR, a boutique entertainment PR firm. Well, I'm Ed Garsten, and Jane's my guest here on episode 144 of Tales from the Beat, where we look at news and PR from both sides of the scrimmage line. Jane, welcome to Tales from the Beat. It's a pleasure to have you.
Oh my gosh, it's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You bet. Where are you talking to us from today?
Well, right now I'm on the East Coast, just outside New York in Connecticut. But I'm here for a little bit. Next month I'll be in London, and then I'll be in Venice for the Venice Film Festival. Then I'll be in Paris,
Wow.
constantly moving around.
Wow. Okay. You'll get a lot of free Biscoffs on those flights, I'm sure. Uh, I live for those. I'm sorry. That's a big deal.
They're a
That's
very nice biscuit.
yeah, yeah. Okay. It's the little things, really. It's the little things. So, Jane, I was intrigued when you approached me about coming on the podcast, and I was very flattered that you actually knew about it and had heard it. But you had come to me with an interesting pitch. Where you said that you're tired of being pushed to take clients because of the budget rather than the quality of what they're actually doing. And so you built something different. So I thought we could just jump right into it as to what you meant by that and what your philosophy is as far as PR and taking on your clients.
Yes, I think that a lot of people who run their own businesses, I own this company. We're not a tiny company, but we're not a massive, massive conglomerate, with 300 employees and all of that.
Yeah,
But we're not also not a single person operator. So I do have salaries to pay and overhead.
sure.
And I think that, as a business owner, we often feel like we have to take every client and we have to take
Mhm.
the bigger clients over the smaller clients,
Right.
and that's just across the board in every business, I think.
Sure.
But I think that when you're dealing with entertainment PR, um, it's also really important to believe in the client that you're representing. I think that, some of the best jobs I've had in my career have been, these smaller independent movies, for example, that,
Yeah,
didn't have a huge budget, but they were really good. And
sure.
getting involved with them made, uh, made my job easier, my
Yeah,
life happier.
sure.
The results were better. And there's definitely been clients that had huge budgets, but
Yeah.
they really didn't have the talent or the quality of work to sustain a PR campaign. It doesn't mean that you can't do something with it. And I don't, I'm not going to reproach anyone for taking a client based on money alone. But I think
Sure.
that, as opposed to other types of PR where it's
Yeah.
very, the clients are pretty much all the same, and you
Right.
do,
Yeah.
tend to like take the client that has the bigger budget.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think in entertainment, there's a creativity to PR in entertainment, and there's an aspiration of being a publicist for that person or that company or that movie for a long time, right? So
Sure.
when you're pitching a movie or an actor or a singer or an artist or anyone in the entertainment field,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of, you have to be able to really stand to your guns and say, I believe in this person, I believe in this movie, I believe in this
Sure.
talent, and I think they have the what it takes to go far.
Right.
And when you start with them at the ground floor, you could see them through the next 20 years of their lives and their
Right.
careers up to, and the future fees that they could be paying you if you help them get their start could
Right.
far outweigh what obviously they can pay at the beginning. But
Sure.
I think that taking a chance on some of these talented companies, talented people, talented filmmakers, when they don't have the big budgets, can often really pay dividends,
Yeah.
rather than taking a big payout for a small amount of time for something that deep down you probably know, this is probably not going to win an Oscar."
Yeah. Yeah. That
I
must
hope that
be,
answered the question.
yeah. I mean, I think about it, and isn't this something that basically all PR firms have to deal with, regardless of the business, is that it's that balance. Sure, I love the income, I love the revenue, but man, these people don't have anything. And so often, I mean, I find I get pitches for stuff that just isn't news. It's really, and having also been on the PR side myself and been a consultant for PR firms, is that you go, wow, you could almost feel, you could almost feel the pressure that these people were under to come up with a release or a story pitch, knowing that there's no news in there. But all right, I'll do it for the client. I mean, Jane, how hard is that really to make that leap to say, you know what, I'd rather just forego this revenue than be forced to try to pitch to journalists that perhaps I've built relationships with, and stick to something that I really believe in.
Right, exactly. I think, your reputation really is so important in this field. And, journalists take your call more times than they don't if they believe that you aren't going to pitch them something ridiculous.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like you just said, like, know your audience, know who you're working with.
right,
Don't try to fit a square peg in a round hole,
right.
because they won't appreciate it. They're going to say, like, "Jane, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah,
why are you pitching me something that I would never, ever write
mhm.
about? This is crazy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
such a waste of your time and my time." And
right.
like you said, like, you feel this pressure because you took the money to, like, try to force things that they want to happen, even though
Hmm.
it's not going to happen. And it never works out well. It's
Yeah.
never, it's definitely something I made the mistake of doing when I was younger.
Hmm.
And I will say this as well, is like, no matter how many times you have a conversation with a client about realistic expectations,
Hmm.
even if they say to you, "Okay, I understand, I have realistic expectations, I totally understand where you're coming from," and they say it to you a million times,
Mm.
they always have unrealistic expectations.
Yes.
you
Yes.
know is every
Yes.
single time, no matter what, no matter where they come in.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, going into something from the get go that isn't quite a fit, you get those unrealistic expectations on top of that. And
Yeah.
it's just never worth it. It's never worth the
Sure.
money, even if you think it is at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And especially in the entertainment industry, I can only imagine that the egos and inflated self-worth that you must have to deal with. And I've really never been involved with that. I've been mostly a business reporter and a general assignment reporter during my life, and had minimal contact with the entertainment PR side. But so, John, I was just curious about that. Is
Yeah.
how much more of
And
a
it
of a
is
dimension is
really,
that?
it is a huge dimension. I mean, working with talent, for example, like, representing a person rather than a company.
Yeah.
um I've done that for many years, 20 something years now. And it is not a huge part of my business, but it's been a consistent part of my business. I have a handful of talent clients right now,
Hmm.
and I love them all. But
Yeah.
it crosses over into so many other things. We're considered a publicist, but then I end up doing things like travel agent would do, or a
Yeah.
assistant would
I
do,
can
or
imagine. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
manager would do. Or I have a client right now who is trying to make his first independent film, and I'm even trying to help him cast the thing. It's
Wow.
like you're the definition of what a publicist does. it,
Yeah.
it definitely becomes way, way broader when you're dealing with a person rather than a company. And like you said, the egos, there's, I think anybody who gets into acting, for example, or
Mhm.
singing, there's
Sure.
got to be an element of ego. You have to,
Hmm.
because you have
Yes.
to believe in yourself enough to say, I, deserve to be in this movie, or I can get into this audition and I can beat everyone else to get
Right.
this role. You, you, it doesn't, you can't really exist in that world without having a little bit of an ego. And I
Yeah,
think
of course.
I get to see specifically the most egotistical part of them,
I'm sure.
because what they're asking me to do is
Yes.
to to benefit that ego by increasing its awareness. Like,
Oh yeah.
they're literally hiring me to make them more famous.
Yeah.
And pe- people that want to be famous, like, by definition, have to have an ego.
Yeah, sure.
um, so so yes, I'm definitely dealing with a lot of egos, and I think the industry itself runs on ego. Even in the
Yeah.
film, like, even on the other side of the camera, with
Yes.
directors and cinematographers, like, there's an ego about it, because it's an incredibly hard business, and
Oh,
there's a
sure.
huge amount of competition, and it almost, by essence, you need to have this unshakable ego just to
Sure.
rise to the top. And by the time you get to wanting or needing to have a publicist,
Hmm.
you probably have had quite a lot. You've had some success. You've had some
Yes.
indication that
Yeah.
spending money on a publicist is going to be worth your while.
Yeah.
So at that point, you've probably gone through the ringer a bit, and
Hmm.
your ego has become part of your operational skills, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I mean, I worked for 11 years for in corporate communications at an automaker. And you know what? They've got just as big egos as people in show
yeah,
business. That's,
I bet there's a lot of competition in that business. Absolutely. And
it's yeah,
people need egos just to be able to run a business sometimes, or
sure.
manage a staff, or you
Yeah.
know you have to believe in yourself to be able to be a CEO, or
Yeah.
and deal with massive amounts of money and people's
Sure.
jobs and lives in your hands. Like, if
Yeah.
you don't believe in yourself, it's very hard to make those kind of decisions on a daily basis, I think.
Sure. Sure. So, let's move on to just how whenever we talk to folks on the podcast, one of the biggest things is really, and especially you've been in business right now over 11 years,
Yeah, it's
from
been
what,
16 years of
16
running
years now?
JNO and PR, and then
Okay.
I've been in PR for 20 something
All right.
years.
So you've seen the changes. You've seen the changes,
Yeah.
even, you go even pre-internet days. I know I certainly do. How has that changed your job in an industry that's based right on
Oh
trends
my
and
God.
what's hot now?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Oh, my job has changed. Like, it's unrecognizable. When I started out in PR, you your goal in life was to get your client into a print publication,
yes.
and
Hmm.
there were a handful of print publications that meant something, and you
Hmm.
would pitch the editor, and you would take as much time as you needed to pitch the editor, and they would secure the story, or they would do the interview, you
Hmm.
get them the pictures they needed, and then
Yes.
3 or 4 or more months later, that magazine would come out on a newsstand, and you would go and buy a copy or 10
Hmm.
and give them to the client, and they would be happy with that one article because it
Yeah.
was in Vogue or it was in Glamour, whatever it was.
Sure.
Nowadays, nowadays, people don't really care about print publications. I mean, it's nice to have.
Hmm.
Some people do, but
Yeah.
it's really more about the quick turnaround online press. They
Hmm.
want social media. They want celebrity endorsements.
Right.
They want 1,000 pieces of press tomorrow, not
Yes.
one piece of press six
Hmm.
months from now.
Hmm.
And you have to be very careful what you pitch to the print publications, because it has to be relevant when it comes out, several months from now. So
Yeah.
it can't be tied to a specific event or a specific release that is anywhere near where you are. It has to be a release that's happening when that publication comes out.
Yes.
So it's a very, so you're doing, we have several timelines for our clients that are constantly going. It's like, what are we pitching the print press? What are we pitching TV? What are we pitching podcasts? What are we pitching
Mhm.
online? Newspapers, they all have different timelines, and you're pitching different storylines to each one of
Yeah.
them simultaneously. And, we do reports for our clients where we're getting, hundreds of millions of impressions for
Mhm.
them a month. And
Yeah.
that's, sometimes still not good enough because they
Yeah.
expect so much, because there's so much noise out there that they have
Yeah.
to get, make an impact now. You have to
Right.
fight through so much noise. And,
Yes.
they used to say that to make a brand, to take someone from an unknown entity to
Hmm.
being a known entity, you had to have their name in print or said out loud on news
Yes.
7 times. I think it was 7 times was the magic number that you were
Yeah.
always trying to
Remember that. Yeah.
accomplish.
Hmm.
And now it's something like 15 or 16. Like
Wow.
it's more than
Mhm.
doubled. And that's really because there's just so much chatter, and people's attention spans and their
Yes.
memories are so much smaller than they were. And you
Hmm.
just have to really hammer whatever you're trying to get through into their
Right.
consciousness. You have to really combat all of that um, extra noise that exists nowadays.
Right.
And you have to use every tool in your arsenal. You can't just do one type of press. You
Right.
can't just have one article or one piece of news out per month, because in the
Yeah.
time it takes for them to read it again, they've already forgotten the first time.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, our job has changed dramatically, and
Yeah.
there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more pressure. There's a lot more, and budgets have gone down. I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody's seen that across the board. Usually in life, you start charging more and more as you get more success and more
Yeah.
credibility. Now,
Right.
the clients that used to easily pay you a good chunk of money, and
Mhm.
sorry, my 1 second, sorry.
Sure. Okay. Urgent news. This just in. Something's happening. See, Jane's very busy. She's got to take care of her business while we're doing the podcast. That's great. That's great.
I'm so sorry.
No, no, that's okay. I was doing a little play-by-play of you being a very busy PR executive taking care of business. That's perfectly
I'm
okay.
so sorry.
It's real life. Yeah.
Yeah, so like you said, like I just said, fighting
Yeah.
through the noise and being
Yeah.
available 24/7. We get
Yeah.
paid less, and we're expected to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, I get messages from my clients at 4
Mhm.
a.m. on a Sunday night, or,
Right.
you know, 2 p.m. on Saturdays. Like there's no distinction of on and
Right.
off times anymore.
No, there's no. Well, I mean, I worked at CNN for 20 years. There's no news cycle. You're just on all the
Oh
time,
my gosh, yes, that must have been
and
intense.
just a little, just a little. It was wonderful, though. It was wonderful. It was the best experience of my life. But it brings up a segue here where, okay, there's so many more places to be, and there's no news cycle anymore. And now you've got to deal, of course, with the effect of AI, and especially on
Yes.
on celebrities. I imagine that, and maybe you could talk about this, Jane, is just what a headache, and what sort of I don't know whether you'd call it playing defense, because
Mm.
celebrities in particular are so subject to deep fakes and things that are created by
Oh
AI. I'm
yeah.
wondering, how you deal with that and how that's changed the way you do business.
Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to catch up with, what this is going to do to our industry. Definitely, the deep fakes thing is something that we're trying to figure out how to navigate that. The There's a lot of fear in the entertainment world, obviously with AI on many levels.
Mhm.
There's a fear of, you know, um, AI actors coming in and replacing human actors, AI writers coming in and replacing human writers. And
Mm.
in PR, of course, we're I mean, you thank God, thankfully, a lot of magazines have gotten really good at spotting AI pitches
Hmm.
and AI press releases and
Yeah.
AI stories, even articles that were written by AI. But I'm sure, as this technology progresses, it's going to get harder and harder to distinguish. And, what I could say is, I think we just have to hang on to the appreciation that we have for real humanity and real humans, and the skill that a human brings to any industry, um, and the relationships that they bring and the humanity that they bring, that an AI can never replace. And we have to be also really vigilant and aware that, as a publicist, if we say this is not our client, this
Yeah.
is a deep fake,
Hmm.
believe us,
Yeah.
believe
Right.
us and support us, and um, don't buy into it, and don't
Yeah.
exacerbate the problem by regurgitating it and reposting it if it's identified as a fake, because
Yeah.
it's, that whatever, even if it's really funny, or it's kind of cool to see the
Mm.
celebrity in a compromised position or whatever it is,
Yes.
that's a real person. And I
Yeah.
think that that is something that a lot of people, they don't really understand, or they don't really take it into consideration on a daily, when they're talking about celebrities, or they're saying, oh, this person's fat, or this person,
Mm.
what are they wearing, or whatever.
Yeah.
That is actually a real person who has feelings, and
Yes.
has a family, and has a mom and dad, and has
Hmm.
a daughter or son, or
For sure.
whatever, who are going to be, even if that person themselves has become hardened to it, there's people around them that might not be yet. And you know
Yeah.
um, I have a client who has two young children, and she's
Mm.
so concerned all the time,
For
anytime that
sure.
they get mentioned in the press.
Yeah. Hmm.
How's it going to affect them? How's it going to affect them at school? How's it going to affect their confidence? All of
Yeah.
these things. And yeah, those kids didn't choose to be in the spotlight. She did,
Right.
but her
Yeah.
children haven't made that choice. And like,
No.
dragging them into stuff is really not cool. And I think
No.
that people just need to kind of, as we get more and more, our world gets more and more enveloped with AI, which can be a wonderful tool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
think it's very hard to put the genie back in the box, and I think we
Hmm.
all have to agree that probably it's here to stay, and there's a way to use it for your benefit, and there's a way to limit its influence as well. But I think that the more we get involved with AI, I think the more
Yeah.
we have to hang on to our humanity as well.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard because people just want to be viral. It's all about themselves, right? People, it's almost become
Yeah,
a very selfish world where it's just about me, right? I want to be viral. I want people to know me. Doesn't matter
yeah.
if they know me because of something good. I just want someone to say, "Oh, I saw you
Well, that's
online."
the other thing that I think
Yeah.
people need to realize about this world,
Hmm.
is that fame isn't doesn't always come with purely benefits.
Right.
There's a lot of people I know who are fame rich and money poor.
Mm.
They're very well known, but
Yeah.
for whatever reason they can't rub two pennies together. And um and it's not always a good thing, because they're
Yeah.
constantly being judged, they're constantly being photographed, and that photographs are being torn apart, and they can't make a mistake, or do something, silly, or
Yeah.
have a bad day. Everything that they do wrong has to be behind closed doors, because anything that they do in the public is going to be all over the place. And
Yeah.
it's a really hard thing as a human being to constantly be criticized.
Yes.
And I think that people don't realize, like, as a famous person, there's going to be people who love you for no reason, but there's, for the very same person, there could be an equal amount of people that hate them for no reason.
Yes.
And that's really hard to deal with. And even I've been told, the people who, like, I remember speaking to Colin Firth
Mm.
about this, and I said, it's really hard. Um, people to hate you for no reason. And he says, well, he said to me, well, actually, it's also really hard when people love you for no reason.
Yeah.
And you can imagine,
Interesting.
you know,
Yeah.
the adoration he had as a young man, especially. And also, I mean, gosh, he's just fantastic. Even
Sure.
today,
Yeah.
he's very handsome man
Yeah.
at his age. But and will be forever. But he's had crazy fans who just adore him and worship him, and that's
Hmm.
also quite scary, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's something that I don't think people really know or care to think about, but
Yeah.
it is true.
It is.
Careful what you wish for.
Right. Yeah.
I've had clients come to me and say, "Oh, I've been offered to be on this reality show or that reality show," and
Yeah.
I say,
Yeah.
"Great, that's wonderful. Good luck." But
Yeah.
really, think about what you're getting involved with. Like,
Sure.
make sure that you're okay with having every single part of your life examined under a microscope, and everything you do from the minute you're on that show for the rest of your life is fair game for a lot of people to like pull apart and stick
Yes.
online, and you know uh and do all that kind of stuff too. So you've got to really be okay with what you're um
Absolutely.
getting into. Yeah.
Sure. Well, we got a couple of minutes left, and we promised people at the top that they were going to hear the truth about what they didn't know about the entertainment and PR, celebrity PR business. Is there any sort of last little message, Jane, of something that we don't know, just the general public don't know about your field that we should know that would be enlightening to us?
Well, I mean, I think that it might have become more obvious in recent years with this whole thing with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. But
I,
just understand, like, whenever you pick up a newspaper, and you know this from being
yeah,
at CNN as well,
yeah,
the don't believe everything you read
yeah,
because
true.
pretty much behind every story
Yeah,
there's an agenda or two agendas or 10
mhm,
agendas that
for
have
sure.
gone into making that version of reality. So just because a magazine says that so and so is this, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Just use your own judgment, and maybe read three or four different articles before you
Yeah.
decide on what the truth is, because usually the truth that you're reading is a truth that has been created by somebody or some people,
Mhm. Yeah,
and it's not necessarily
right.
100% always the truth when you read it, just because
Uh,
you read it.
Good advice. I got 1 minute. I just can't resist. I just have to ask you if you can give in 30 seconds or less, just how you thought the whole, if you don't want to get into it, you don't have to, how you thought the whole Taylor Swift wedding thing was handled, because that was just such a bizarre
Oh
event.
my gosh. I actually ended up getting involved in that story because one of my clients, Jamie King, she
Okay.
her son
Yeah.
is Taylor Swift's godson.
Oh, okay.
So
Wow.
I got pulled into that because there was a lot of speculation of, was he invited, was he not invited, why
Mm.
didn't she go, why didn't he go,
Oh
and it
man.
was very silly.
Yeah.
My opinion is that who cares who goes to a wedding or not goes to a
Yeah,
wedding, like
right.
what is
Yeah.
the big deal
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
a young kid, he's a very young kid, and
Yeah.
there were no other kids really at that wedding as far as I know, apart from maybe I
Yeah.
think the groom's sisters or something like that.
Okay.
Um, but uh, but yeah, it was a very silly big deal that was made out of nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that it was a little shocking how they handled that wedding. I think it was they'd done a really good job of presenting themselves as this kind of more down to earth couple
Hmm.
that just like to be normal, and then they had this very ostentatious wedding which kind of flew in the face of that perception. And
Right.
I found it very interesting because I think if I had been her publicist, I would have advised against it.
Yeah.
At least the way they handled it, like, it felt very performative, and
Yeah.
I felt like it was very much, it was a very different version of Taylor than I was expecting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I think they should have understood that there was going to be some backlash against it, especially
Right.
shutting down all those streets and
Right.
all the, with the electricity being a problem during
Oh,
that
yeah.
hot day in New York. And,
Yeah.
the juxtaposition of that incredible amount of money that was being spent on that wedding and the real poverty that was feet away.
Sure.
I think that was a mistake on their part. I think, it's not anybody's,
No.
right to say how somebody should celebrate their marriage.
Right.
Obviously, it's her money, it's her life. She can
Yeah.
have a 1,000-person wedding in Madison Square Garden if she wants to. But I just think
Yeah.
that from an image perspective,
Yeah.
either she wasn't given very good advice, or she
Right.
wasn't, or she didn't listen to that advice, or
Right.
she or she didn't have very good advisors, because it's definitely now she's got an image problem from that wedding that they're
Sure.
gonna have to work quite hard to like turn
All
that
right.
around, I think.
All right. All right. I'm glad I asked you that. As a native New Yorker, personally, I'd rather see a Knicks game at Madison Square Garden than a wedding. All right. Jane Owen, thank you so much. What a great conversation. I really, really
Yes.
enjoyed
Well,
this
Ed, I'd be
conversation.
happy to come
Uh,
back anytime.
all
That was a
right.
lovely interview.
Thank you
I
so
really
much.
appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to listening to your other episodes as they come out in the future.
All right. Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for joining us on this episode of Tales from the Beat. I'm Ed Garsten, and I'll be back soon with more tales. Take care.